R. Kelly trial. Last week, talked about this. That was week number 1. This is week 2 of the R. Kelly trial. I not a huge fan of R. Kelly. However, I watched that Surviving R. Kelly documentary, as a lot of people did. Watched the Gayle King interview with R. Kelly, and just shocked. I'm going to play and read what happened last week. The trial, of course, continues this week. The testimony on the stand is just unbelievable, and I'll let you listen to it. I'll let you listen to it. This is from BuzzFeed, and again, these are excerpts. And since this is a family podcast, I am purposefully omitting some of the more grotesque and offensive sexual things in the article. But if you're interested and you want to know more about how much of a true monster this man is, I have a bit.ly link below. But this is dated the 23rd of August. It's entitled, "A Woman Who Moved In With R. Kelly When She Was 17 Said He Forced Her to Do Humiliating Porn and Get an Abortion." And it's an article by Julia Weinstein. And it says, quote, "A 23-year-old woman testified about the 5-year relationship she had with R. Kelly on Monday, describing in emotional and graphic detail the abuse and degradation Kelly allegedly used to control her, including forcing her to have an abortion. The woman, who identified herself in court using the pseudonym Jane, said she met Kelly in 2015 when she was a 17-year-old aspiring singer looking for mentorship. She spoke at times through tears about how Kelly would allegedly punish her for breaking the authoritarian rules he had set for his girlfriends on how they were to dress and act, and even when they could use the bathroom. I would get chastised nearly every 2 or 3 days," Jane said. "He would leave bruises, and sometimes it would make my skin tear." Despite being a junior in high school, Jane spent much of that spring and summer traveling around the country to meet Kelly while he was on tour. In the 5 years she spent with Kelly, Jane said he controlled every aspect of her life and body, forcing her to have sex with him and many of the other women in the house anytime he wanted, often filming the encounters. In 2017, Jane said she became pregnant, and Kelly allegedly made her get an abortion against her will. "She had not wanted an abortion, but Kelly still wanted me to keep my body tight," she said. When she was 17, she began feeling pain in her pelvis and lower abdomen. Kelly laughed it off, suggesting it was due to the size of his penis. But then the pain became so severe, Jane said she could barely walk. A doctor diagnosed her with herpes, which Kelly has had since at least 2007, his physician friend testified. Now, this is from the Huffington Post, and this is, again, the same Jane Doe. She's on the stand for a second day. The same Jane Doe as referenced earlier in the BuzzFeed article. There are, according to this article, 6 Jane Does in total. But anyway, this one is dated the 24th. It's an article by Anna Villaganosis, and it's entitled, "R. Kelly Survivor Says Singer Had Been Grooming a Male Victim Since He Was a Boy." And it reads, quote, "Jane Doe, the 5th of 6 does, whose stories are included in charging documents, told jurors that Kelly did have at least one other male victim. Doe said that she was forced to have sex with a man Kelly referred to as nephew as punishment for breaking one of the singer's rules. He said he had been grooming nephew since he was young like me," she said, adding that Kelly told her not to embarrass him and please nephew sexually like she pleases Kelly. Doe said she was forced to have sex with nephew multiple times throughout her 5-year relationship with Kelly. Now, this is an article from The Cut, which gives us, I think, a little bit of a better clue as to whom Jane is. The same woman on the stand now for the third day. This article goes into the entire history of Kelly and his suspected sex cult dating back to 2017. And it's entitled, Witnesses Say R. Kelly Made Her Have Sex as Punishment. And it's dated August 27th by Claire Lampin. The author cites the now infamous Gayle King interview with R. Kelly, which included at least two of his girlfriends defending him. And it says, quote, though Jane publicly defended Kelly in 2019 interview with Gayle King after the Lifetime documentary, which the women say they were not allowed to watch, aired, she told jurors he coached her and others on the proper, often false responses. Jane admitted she lied during the interview, which she said Kelly supervised. He did a cough that he usually does, she explained, letting us know that he was in the room with us. So Jane Doe appears to be either Jocelyn Savage or Azriel Clary. As far as we know, those are the only two women in the Gayle King interview with R. Kelly. So back to the Cut article. It goes on to say, Wednesday, Jane's testimony continued on into a third day. Kelly's defense attorneys reportedly made her read from collateral letters. Jane said he made her write. One claiming she and her mother schemed to lure Kelly into an illegal sexual relationship, but that even though she wanted to have sex with him, he was not showing the same interest. Another claimed that she spanked herself really hard after stealing from Kelly, while another accused her family of treating her like a hoe and a prostitute because they used her as bait to blackmail the singer. In reality, Jane insisted Kelly made her write every word. Next on the stand was the ex-studio manager who seemed to corroborate the prosecution's case that Kelly was a taskmaster. And the article continues going, quote, Arnold worked as Kelly's studio and tour manager for 8 years and recalled that on one occasion, he and other staff were all fined because someone ate his donuts, according to the Daily Beast. On another, Kelly allegedly withheld about $1,500 for a week's pay from Arnold after he booked a male tour guide for a very last-minute trip to Disney World for the singer and his female guests. A third woman was on the stand and said that R. Kelly liked young girls. This is excerpts from the New York Times dated 8/26. Emily Parker is the one who it gets the byline. And the article goes on to recount the women saying Kelly told her, quote, even look at Jerry Lee Lewis, the woman said she heard Kelly remark. He's a genius, and I'm a genius. We should be allowed to do what we want. Look at what we give the world. During the testimony on Thursday afternoon, Stephanie, the victim, said that the singer, whose real name is Robert Sylvester Kelly, preyed upon her beginning in the summer of 1999 when she was 17 and approached him to ask if her friend could audition for him. He said, that he thought that he could arrange that, but also he'd like to get to know me, she said, and also that he likes to cuddle, and would I be okay with that? Hoping to help her friend, she said she agreed, and before long, Mr. Kelly was having sex with her. That was definitely the hardest time in my life, she told the jury. I had very low self-esteem. I'd already been through sexual trauma within my family, by my first boss, by men on the street. I was very vulnerable. With Mr. Kelly, she said, she reached a new low. I've never been treated like that before or since, she said. He humiliated me. He degraded me. He scared me. I'll never forget the way he treated me. Mr. Kelly's defense homed in on Stephanie's decision to continue seeing the singer, and Nicole Blank Becker, one of Kelly's 4 lawyers, noted that in Illinois, the age of consent is 17. That Illinois law is only applicable if the age difference between the parties is no more than 5 years at the time. Mr. Kelly was 32. The breaking point came a little later, she said, after Mr. Kelly flew her and her friend Catherine, the aspiring singer, to Orlando and left them there for several days. But shortly before she was scheduled to leave, Mr. Kelly returned for her and again directed her to have oral sex while he recorded. A short time later, she said she broke off contact for good. So, I mean, you hear the names Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and they're all, perpetrators, and although Bill Cosby has been, exonerated, a judge may have said that prosecutors did the wrong thing, but I don't know about the charges if he was found innocent. But he was convicted at one time by a jury of his peers. Harvey Weinstein is still being tried. Jeffrey Epstein is dead. But if what these people did, what these men did with women, particularly Epstein with young girls, is to be believed and is true, they pale in comparison to this stuff with Kelly. I mean, it's like Kelly is like, hold my beer. I mean, it is just like, and I did not read the stuff that is the worst of it. The headlines on one of them, I think it's actually in one of those that I had up. The headline tells you everything you need to know about how grotesque this thing was. But we're only on woman number 4, I think it is. Both Jane Does and I think women who are actually coming out. And there's 6 Jane Does. But this person is, I mean, he is a special kind of monster that I don't think that and these are children. But put that aside, the fact that they're children, Mike. Put that aside. Just the fact that these are other human beings and he's doing this kind of stuff to them. It's so all you people who are insisting on playing Step to the Name of Love. My personal favorite is I'm Your Angel. All of these other songs that he's done. Know that you are contributing and putting money into the pocket of this monster. Know that you are going out there and you are helping to facilitate and helping to keep this guy, if he stays out of jail, keep him flush with cash. And there's a report, I didn't even go into it, and I didn't even link to it. I may put it in the description. But the New York Times has a very interesting, you can do a search for it from last week, I think it was Friday, report on where his money is going, or where his songs are playing, and what's going on there. And one of the main takeaways is that they've stopped playing him on radio, terrestrial radio. They've stopped playing him on a lot of the streaming services and whatnot. I mean, they haven't stopped playing him on streaming services. It's mostly terrestrial radio that stopped playing him. On the streaming services is where he's making his money and where his music is being played, still untouched by any of this scandal. Spotify, Apple Music, they're going to have to decide to not continue him as an artist. I mean, Spotify can make the decision to do that. But and I would normally not be someone who is for cancel culture or hurting a person's means of income and all that kind of stuff. But this is only week 2. And to listen to what he did to these young girls, it's beyond the pale. It's absolutely beyond the pale and somewhat unforgivable.